Welcome to our latest episode of the Lebanese Physicians Podcast. And today we will be discussing combating fatigue and burnout with Dr. Labib Ghulmiyyah. And I've known Labib for a long time since I was in medical school. He was a couple of years ahead of me. And he has since gone from AUB, did his OB/GYN residency, the maternal fetal medicine fellowship, worked in the US for a while, moved back to Lebanon, and currently is back in Miami. And what's interesting about Labib is he's always been thought outside the box. So he's done some media appearances in Lebanon and then moved to the US, and now he's writing books and discussing burnout and healthy lifestyles. So we'll discuss that through the podcast today. Welcome, Labib, to the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Diab. It's great to be on your podcast. Yeah, we've known each other for a long time. We're, family friends. We're friends with, your wife, Dr. Samari, and so it's been a long, journey together. So really, thank you for having me. I'm ready to discuss, whatever you want to talk about today. Thinking outside the box. How I got here, and how everybody can actually think outside the box, and have side gigs, and just so that I think it's very important to have this in order to have a purpose in life. If you keep doing the same thing all the time, you're going to get bored. So I hope the whoever the audience is listening to us will have an open mind to other things in life, and enjoy things. There's things that we can enjoy outside medicine that can be related to medicine, but also outside medicine.
Right, exactly. Which is the topic we're going to be discussing part of today, which is burnout too. Because if you start doing other side gigs, then you might not burn out as much because you're doing other things that interest you and not necessarily just seeing patients day in,
Correct.
day out.
Yeah.
So Labib, can you tell me a bit about your journey? Like, you were in AUB, finished medical school, came to the US, and then can you tell me a bit about that and how you decided to move back to Lebanon?
Okay, so I'm gonna make it brief because it's a long
exactly.
history. So after I finished med school in AUB, I came to the US, did the year of internal medicine, and then did my residency in OB/GYN, then my fellowship in maternal fetal medicine. Then I returned to AUB as a faculty at AUB from 2008 till 2020. During that time, I was the residency program director at AUB, then the head of the maternal fetal medicine division. Unfortunately, like many of us, we were forced to leave the country. So in 2020, I moved back to the US, and by pure luck, I ended up in Miami. I can tell you the story in a bit. So in Miami, I joined the University of Miami for 2 years, and now I'm in private practice in Miami. So that's my journey when it comes to the medicine part. The other side of my life actually started when I moved here. Yes, before moving to the US in Lebanon. Also, I was in the media, coming in by pure luck. As soon as I moved to Lebanon to 2008, I was at the dinner, and we were just talking, with someone who's in the media. Actually, he's the owner of one of the big stations in Lebanon. And I mentioned the doctor's show, which just started in the US. And I said, this is a great idea to have. And, do you want to do such a thing? Blah, blah, blah. One thing to another led to eventually us doing a pilot for this. And then they brought in the franchise for the doctors. Long story short, I ended up doing another show in a different TV station about sexual health. This was like in 2009 or 2010 till 2012. We talked about sexual education, which was really a taboo back then. And I think it's still a taboo, but it was, a big taboo back then. So we talked about, sexual education, the importance of it, outside pregnancy, in pregnancy. So it was a nice experience, but it wasn't something, I wanted to do in the long term. Plus, I got so busy with my medical practice, so I didn't have time to pursue this more. So when I moved here, I was honestly exhausted. Like, I think I was burnt out completely from the work part, because in Lebanon, as you know, life is very fast. You're purely a solo practitioner, so you have to be, you have to attend every delivery, you have to attend to every patient. So that's why I was burned from that part. Plus, what happened, with the banking system, with the explosion. That was really a wake up and a turning point in my life. And I decided for my family's sake to move to the US. So here, I started having more time to myself. I was practicing just maternal fetal medicine. So we're basically consultants to the OBs. We do few deliveries, but we're not as busy as, when I was in Lebanon. So I wanted to figure out why I'm tired like all the time. I could not figure it out. And I met a physician here in Miami who's actually a functional medicine doctor, which I haven't heard about. I mean, I've heard of functional medicine, but I never like thought it was something. So I started talking to him, and he mentioned functional medicine. I started reading more about it made sense to me that possibly functional medicine can be a nice thing to have on top of what we do. It's not only like giving supplements and herbs and woohoo science. I mean, there are some good studies and evidence that comes into functional medicine. So I started taking courses. I took a whole certification of functional medicine, which took almost a year and a half. And in the meantime, I was trying to discover why I was tired. And speaking to this physician, Dr. Rudy, and he mentioned, oh, Labib, you're 45, 46. Why don't you check your testosterone levels? And I was shocked, like testosterone, like why would I check my testosterone at my age? So I was like, yeah, let me do it. So I started, checking all these tests, and my testosterone was indeed super low. And I think it played a role in how I was feeling. Maybe it wasn't the only culprit, but it was playing a role. So it's like, okay, my testosterone is low. He's like, start taking replacement. I was like, I'm not gonna take replacement because when you take replacement, you won't be able to have more kids because it will lower your sperm count. So I want to see why. So eventually, I got into the toxin world, into the environmental toxins, and I tested myself for a long list of toxins, and my glyphosate level, which is a pesticide that's used a lot here and I'm sure in Lebanon and everywhere, was extremely high. In addition to my mercury levels, so I started, working on trying to decrease my exposure and trying to find where is it coming from. And over like a year and a half, I lowered my glyphosate level and my mercury level, and I felt better. I'm not like in my perfect shape, but I'm way better than before. I have more energy, more, clarity. I still have some issues with sleep, maybe because I'm so used to like not sleeping a lot and, waking up and having interrupted sleep. I'm still working on that part. So that's how, the toxins came along. And I decided, Dr. Rudy and I, to write a book about this. And eventually we came up with an online course to raise awareness about toxins because I really didn't know much about. We don't learn anything in med school about toxins. I mean, we know the names. I was a chemistry major, so I knew some of the chemical names, but that's it. Like, um, so that's why we did the book, and then we did the online course. And at the same time, I was working on another book related to postpartum because um this also came from, my wife just had a baby, and when we moved here, so she also went through the same thing I was going through, and I thought it was all because of the situation, but I wanted to help her. So, and because I was learning functional medicine, I was like, why don't I apply some of these things into postpartum recovery and help her and do some, further testing for her. And that's how it happened. And I wrote the book, pretty quickly. It took me like almost 6 months to 8 months to finish the postpartum book. It's a short book, but it's a good eye opener to look at postpartum recovery in a different perspective. I know we never paid attention to postpartum women. I mean, I was guilty for this. I mean, patient would come in at 6 weeks, we'll do their checkup, give them birth control, goodbye, see you next pregnancy. So we never paid attention to them. And seeing my wife, going through, hard times, especially with the move, I thought this is a good area to, focus on. So again, that's how the book idea came along. That's how I got into the functional medicine. And, I still practice our conventional medicine, of course, because in pregnancy, it's very difficult to test and do functional testing and try new things. You have to go, buy the book. And of course, you have two humans you're taking care of. And there's no studies in pregnancy. And it's difficult to do studies in pregnancies on, supplements or any of those sorts. So I still practice that part, which I love. But at the same time, I try to help people with looking at things in a functional medicine way. And then came the burnout idea.
Right. Right.
Because I'm burnt out. I thought, like, and everybody I would talk to, my friends, whether physicians or professionals or CEOs of companies or whatever, everybody's tired. So I was like, is it after COVID that everybody's tired, or it is our lifestyle? Are we not made to work that long hours? Are we not made to handle stress as much? So that's where I, wanted to dig more into this and try to help, individuals and organizations even in, gaining more energy and, having more, vitality, let's say, which
Yeah,
will
which is
eventually
your
lead. Yeah,
vitality project.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's my vitality project,
Right. Right.
which I'm currently working on, and I'm trying to see how I can come up with keynote speeches, workshops, work with individuals, help them gain vitality like I did, but maybe maybe on the way discovering more new things that could eventually help them.
Right.
So that's the idea.
So we'll go back. I guess, yeah. So we discussed a bit about your show in Lebanon, and then
Yeah,
so a lot of it is luck, right? Like you meet people, you do it, it's luck,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
and then you start it. But it's interesting that because a lot of times people have ideas that they want to do, they want to do things even by luck, but then you don't act on them and you don't do them. But it looks like
Exactly.
in your case,
Yeah.
every time you meet someone, you actually end up acting on the
I,
situation
I I
and
think, yeah,
changing.
I think this is very important lesson. Of course, you meet people. Sometimes you try and you fail. I've met so many people. I've tried, different things, and a lot of times doors shut. But one door shuts, another one maybe
Right.
open up. But if you really want something, and let's say you're in an institution, you want to get promoted, you can't sit down and wait for someone to knock on your door. Please, Khalil, let me promote you. That doesn't happen.
Right.
So you have to show that you're interested. Not only show, like if you are really interested, show it. Try to find the right people that have, a say. Of course, luck connections do help, but always try to knock on 10 doors. Eventually, something will open, especially if you want this to happen.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
and so let's go back to the functional medicine part because actually I've heard of it, but I don't know a lot what it is. So what is functional medicine
yeah.
basically?
And I was the same thing when I, first Rudy told me about it, like functional medicine, for me, the first thing I thought about was like alternative stuff and, things that are not, what we learn in medical school. But really, functional medicine, it comes down to looking at why you have this problem, okay? Asking the question why and getting to the cause. So let's say, I mean, the problem in OB/GYN, especially in high risk OB, you don't have time to look for the cause. I mean, somebody's bleeding, somebody has an issue. You don't have a lot of time when you have acute things. But when it comes to chronic diseases, let's say polycystic ovaries, let's say endometriosis, these women suffer for menopause. So, okay, why are we having those symptoms? Why do you have hot flashes? Why do you have abnormal periods? Not just, give them birth control pill to regulate their periods. Yes, we can do this, but we try to dig deeper. Is it related to toxin exposure? Is it related? Now, there's a lot of talk about the gut and the microbiome. I know a lot of people don't believe in it, but there is a lot of data that show the gut plays an important role in our health. So they look at the gut, they look at your daily exposure, what you've been throughout your life from the moment you were born, and actually before you were born. If you can recall maybe what your mother was exposed to in utero while you were in utero, this can affect your health. How you were born, were you breastfed? What happened during your childhood? We dig deep into their sleep patterns. And so it looks deep into the root cause of diseases. So that's why I liked it, because you give more attention to the person, you treat them as a whole. You just don't treat them, you just only treat the headache, for example, or just the period. You treat everything together. I remember in med school, they used to tell us there's always one diagnosis and then you have a differential, but you have to pick one. It's not true. People can have a combination of diagnoses and can have, one cause causing multiple symptoms. And we call it, one disease. So it might be two diseases with one cause, or it can be one cause with multiple symptoms that we call different things. So, for example, depression, depression can be a problem because you're exposed to toxins, let's say, and you're burnt out and you show, depression. An SSRI might not, be the final treatment. It might be a treatment, but it won't treat the cause. So once you stop it, you're gonna go back to the original issue. So I think that's what I liked about it. Of course, there are things that I don't, believe in, or I don't see there is a lot of, evidence. Fictive supplements that people throw in on people, NAD, glutathione, like, again, not everything works for everybody. And I think people mix up functional medicine with, biohacking. Now the big word of biohacking, how you can do things on your own and improve your life. And now the big area of, longevity medicine and anti-aging. So I think they're kind of mixed up together. Functional medicine is still a little bit more academic than the other two, but longevity medicine is growing fast. Biohacking, I think, is more of a, a lot of social media, ads and stuff, but there are some good things about it. But I think the problem, people see things on social media and they think, oh, like cold plunges is gonna work and I'm gonna feel better. No, it doesn't work for everyone. There's a lot of genetics that play a role. Maybe you will benefit from, cold plunges. I might not. It might hurt me. So we can't like generalize everything and all the biohacks to everyone. But going back to functional medicine, I think combining it with what we know, then now, anytime I see a patient now, I think about the root cause. Why did this happen? I don't only think about how to make her feel better or treat her symptoms. I do both. I try to do both. So that's how, I got into functional medicine, and I thought it was very interesting. And I hope in the future it will become, part of the medical training, whether for students or for residents. Just maybe a little bit of that, little bit of nutrition. Like, we never know, we never learn anything about food and what diseases it can cause. I mean, what we eat today is different than what our grandparents ate. So if we don't know, like as a physician, if you're treating somebody's health and you don't know what they're putting in their mouth and what it's doing to their body, how can you treat them? So I think nutrition is very important. There's something called now culinary medicine. So like even in med schools now in Florida, there's a couple of schools where they teach students, they take a whole, class of how to cook. So you cook, in a healthy way. So eventually, akil and food is like health and medicine. So food is very important to put in medical school curricula, as well as, toxins and, talking about things that can help us become, more knowledgeable and therefore more powerful when we're treating humans.
Exactly. So basically, what you're looking at is like healthy lifestyle and potentially toxin exposure that
Yes.
affects patients. Because I think I agree with you. A lot of times,
Yeah.
what you learn in medical school is just diagnose a disease and treat it. But what's
Yeah, and
getting with
we're great at that. I'm not
right,
saying, I mean, you end up finishing medical school, you know how to do your procedures, you know how to save lives when, somebody comes in with bleeding or somebody is in arrest, you know how to intubate them, and you become great at those things. But when it comes to chronic diseases, which are increasing nowadays, we're seeing a lot of chronic diseases now more than before. We're seeing a lot of infertility. The sperm counts all over the world are dropping. Testosterone levels now, the median testosterone levels now is different than what it was 20 or 30 or 50 years ago. So yeah, I mean, we are doing something. Maybe it's not only the food, it's food, lifestyle,
stress,
stress. So
right,
there are many, and I call them toxins, but these are lifestyle toxins.
right,
So it's also our interaction with others. I mean, again, look at yourself or myself. Sometimes a whole week goes by or 2 weeks, we don't see except our spouses. This is if you're married. If you're not married, you're so busy, you come in, you crash on the sofa, you're tired, maybe you go out once, but you don't socialize as well as before. And you're always stressed. You think about money. Uh, we as Lebanese, we think about our parents in Lebanon. And so
right.
there's always your brain is functioning so much and you don't sleep well. And from the moment you wake up, you're on your phone, you get into the car, get, angry because of traffic, you get to work, there's so many things to do, you feel overwhelmed, you come back, and it becomes a vicious circle. So I think it's lifestyle stressors, not only toxins.
Right.
And that's what was causing my fatigue, not only my low testosterone and my glyphosate. I think it was a combination of things. So you have to, so what I'm trying to create is what I'm calling the vitality formula, is try to, dig deep into knowing where is this weakness coming from. I mean,
Yeah,
it
so
could be
tell
from
us a
all,
bit, since
yeah,
we got into this avenue now.
yeah,
I'm going to ask you a bit about how you wrote your books and stuff, but since we're
yeah,
in this avenue now, tell us a bit about your Vitality project. Since we got to this part where it's stress, burnout, lifestyle,
yeah,
all this stuff.
yeah,
So what about the Vitality project, and what are your plans, or what do you want to achieve with it?
yeah. So basically, again, the why I did this project is, because I really want to help people, because I see so many people around me, friends, family, that are suffering from, fatigue. I don't like to call it burnout because burnout is more related to work. And I think what you take to work is also what you have at home. So they're related. You can't like separate them. And I noticed everywhere I go, like whether in a big organization or an institution, oh, we have wellness day. And I was asked multiple times to talk about, a few things about it, but it's one day or one week where, people go out, do yoga, and, they put healthy food in the cafeteria. But this is not enough. It's not like a 1 week wellness. It has to be, a long, so it reminded me of how we treat disease, or we give them a medication for a short period of time, and that's it. We're not getting to the root cause of the problem. So I thought we need to find out, why are we like low on vitality, why we have the burnout or the fatigue chronically. So I'm still in the process of finishing this project, but my goal is to try to raise awareness, whether through speeches or whether through social media or whether workshops, or even individuals if they want to sit down and talk to me, and where we can dig deep like we do in functional medicine, go through a very detailed assessment of where are the health pillars that they're having issues with, whether is it their financial situation, whether it's toxins, whether it's their social life, whether it's hormones. So we try to find where is the problem and work on this. You can't work on everything together. I work mostly on my toxins, and it helped me a lot. Like it made a difference. But I'm sure I still have other toxins that maybe slowly I will get into this. And it's a long process. It's a marathon. Like it's not just a race. So you have to, find out where you want to work on, prioritize which are the issues you want to deal with, and work one issue at a time. And eventually, and without trying to change your life completely. I mean, I did not like, you know, turn my life 180-degree. I still did, things that I did before, but now I make decisions maybe more rationally. I try to, think about, what I eat, what I use as far as, toothbrushes, I mean, toothpaste or shampoos or cosmetics, because, we use all these have toxins. So try to limit those in your life. Plastic is huge. And this is, a whole topic that we can talk about. Plastic is it's killing us. It's a great product, and it's good for our daily lives. It helps us in things, but the way we use plastic, and it's affecting pregnant patients, the babies that are born from that. Even us as adults were exposed to a lot of plastic. I'm sure you've seen the data in the news about finding microplastics in
Right.
in sperm. We find them in placentas. We find them in bottled water. So, I mean, imagine this foreign thing getting into your body. What it's going to do is going to cause a reaction, and it's going to affect everything in your body. It's going to
Yeah, I
cause
think
an
we still
inflammation.
don't know the extent of what it can cause,
Yeah,
but right,
yeah. I mean,
right. But
it
but
might be
basically, your Vitality project, what you're working on is adjusting one thing at a time, but basically targeting a lot of the pillars, which are eating habits, lifestyle, exercise,
sleeping.
stress reduction,
Yes,
potentially
socializing.
toxins.
I think if
Toxins.
socializing is big. I think one of the big culprits now, people are committing suicide and like getting sicker because they're lonely.
Right,
Especially, yeah. I mean, maybe like we don't understand it as much because we come from a culture where everything you do in a group. Like
right,
we all have dinner together. We every day of the week you have someone to go out with to socialize. But in the US, for example, and I'm sure in Europe and other countries, people feel lonely. Like, okay, you have friends, but each one is occupied with their own life. So you don't get to socialize as much. The only thing that you can socialize now is like your phone, which again can be harmful to you. So I think socializing is important. And then like the stuff you mentioned, like sleep, your finances, which is also big. and exercise, the type of exercise, the water you're drinking, the food you're eating. So there's a lot of things that can, and I think every individual or every organization will have a different um, weakness. So my goal is to, let's say, assess a certain organization or a certain individual, talk about how to try to fix those things, and then later on in few months reassess things and make sure people are progressing, and that way, when you feel you're progressing, you will start, it becomes a habit, and you will improve your life
So
as you
Labib,
go
have
on.
you started? Are you working on the project, or have you started it already?
I mean, I'm starting more on the individual level, so I have like few friends and family that I'm, helping. Uh, but I'm working now on my new website. I'm drafting like a keynote speech. I'm building the workshops that I'm gonna be hopefully doing, and I'm gonna see. I mean, I might not have time to do this as a full-time job. Maybe if it becomes a full-time job, maybe. But now, like, I would say 75% of my time is in maternal fetal medicine. The rest of the time is, I'm building this. So it's taking time. And, I'm hoping the next 6 months to a year, I'll have, everything ready to be able to test it and see if it works. I mean, it worked on me, so I want to see if it works on
Yeah.
other people and on an organizational standpoint. And maybe this is good because if you improve vitality in a group, you're going to improve productivity, and then eventually, productivity will lead to better income, and organizations and companies love that. So if you help them improve their income, this is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and I think productivity, and not only that, I think if you decrease disease too, then you decrease
Yeah,
insurance premiums
premium
on
and
the
absenteeism from
employer,
work.
and then that will be
Yeah,
helpful too.
yeah. And then, being absent at work, this costs companies a lot of money.
Right.
Again, maybe this is a big dream that I have, but I'm trying to start slowly on the individual level, and I'm trying to work on raising the awareness through the platforms. I'm not very savvy with social media. I'm trying to see if there's professionals that can help me with this, and hopefully this will make more people do the same thing, and more physicians, because I think the space out there for vitality, and this is now occupied by a lot of coaches and health experts and influencers. There's not a lot of medical doctors that have a good base and background in this. There are few, of course, but I think the control is more from these experts that come out and say anything, and people believe them.
Right,
Go
because if you
take
get physicians into it, potentially can generate data,
Yes,
which could convince people that this is probably the right way to go and
100%.
helps
And if it
out.
becomes part of the medical training,
Right,
that becomes even more solid,
right,
you never know,
right.
like, people might become, even experts in just vitality, and but I think it needs um, like a good background in medicine, know the pathophysiology, know the biochemistry. All of this is very important, and then take it into the clinical part of medicine,
Right.
combine it with the knowledge that we have, combined with some functional medicine, maybe with some biohacks that are important, maybe with some things that are coming out now in the longevity space, which is growing very fast. And I think they're all related. You want to live healthier, yes, but I mean, people are looking to live longer. So lifespan is good, but I think also health span is good. So you want to live healthy for the longest possible. I prefer to live healthy shorter than living, sick for a long period of time. But I think a good happy medium is
Right, and but also, I mean, this goes back to your project too, because to live healthy, you have to practice a healthy lifestyle, because it'll be too late if you get to be like 55 or 60 years old and you're not healthy, and then you get sick, you can't reverse it anymore. It's
yes,
better to
yeah,
do it when you're younger and prevent.
exactly. The younger you start and get into
Right.
those habits, the longer you're gonna have, a positive effect on it. Of course, no
And,
question.
and so, Labib, you've written 3 books so far, right? And
Yes.
so my questions for you are, what are the books you've written so far? And how did you get into being an author and writing books? Because part of it's also getting a publishing house to take your book, or I mean, these days you can do
Yeah.
self-publishing too.
Yeah.
So how do you do it yourself? Like, how did you
So
write the books, and what are the books that you wrote?
Yeah, so the first book was, I mean, I wrote it with Dr. Rudy, the physician who told me
Right.
about my testosterone. So we thought about it, and again, we're used to more writing in the style of scientific, articles and all of that. And I started digging into, publishing firms and publishing companies. It's so difficult to be able to go to a publishing firm or a publishing body to get a book published through them, because you have to fill in an application, you have to finish the book, they have to review it. It's a long, long process. Today, you can self-publish through Amazon. You don't have to go through this publishing firms. And yes, it's. I mean, again, I'm not. I wasn't doing it for the money. I wasn't doing it for fame. I just wanted to put it out there. So whoever is interested in having it, that's great. So yeah, the first book, Dr. Rudy and I, each one, we divided the chapters and we decided what to talk about. We wrote it. We sent it to an editor who proofread it. Of course, did some edits, changed a little bit in the style. And then that's how we did it. The other book, the Reframe Your Health, sorry, the fourth trimester, is about the postpartum. I wrote most of it. And then also there's a chapter that, I asked one of the pelvic therapists who I met in Miami. She's actually Lebanese. She's also very interested in postpartum recovery. So I asked her to write a chapter and we combined it together. I sent it also to an editor who proofread it, and I put it on Amazon. So it's easy to publish a book now if you want to put your words out there. Okay, if you want to become a professional author, yes, you have to go through a publishing firm, and it's a longer process for sure. Um, but it depends, where you want to take this. For me, it was just, I want to put my thoughts out there, whether it's going to go on PubMed in an article or on Amazon. Um, it's kind of the same thing. And then eventually, if you talk about it on social media, people will go and read. Uh, I think even with the new generation not liking to read a lot and they skim through things, publishing small books with good information, straight to the point, uh, you will be surprised. People will buy this book and have it as a reference, um, especially when it comes to toxins and pregnancy. I think it's a big topic, and people now are more conscientious about their health. So anything related to health can help. So if you are a medical student or you're a resident and you have like an idea about this, why not just go and and the third book, actually, I wrote it with a resident. I met her at the University of Miami, and um, she did actually a talk about environmental toxins, and it was the same time where I was going through my environmental toxin spell. So I told listen, why don't we write one about pregnancy? And it took a bit longer for us to write it, her and I, but she helped me. I mean, and she wrote a big part of it, and I proofread it for her, and I added some references, and so yeah, she was a resident and she wrote it, and she was pregnant actually at the time and had a baby. That's why it took time to write it. But even if you're a student or a resident, you can write a book, and it all depends, where you want to take it. But
Right.
having it on Amazon, it's easy. It's easy, and I made it a point to have it in Lebanon. So I took it to Antoine, which is one of the biggest publishing
Right.
firms in Lebanon, and they were okay taking it. They reviewed it. It was a faster process than other publishing
Right.
firms, and they just put it in the branches of Antoine in Lebanon for Lebanese people to have it. I almost wanted to translate it to Arabic, but I didn't have time, honestly, yet to translate. Maybe one day I'll do it, because I wanted also to put it in other Arab countries and have it out there. But yeah, I mean, you can take it as far as you want. You can do book signings if you want, if you're very serious about it. I just wanted to do it because I wanted to have my words out there
Yeah, but
and see
partially, I
if
think you
people
enjoy
want.
it
Yeah,
too. It's like
yeah,
a
and I enjoyed it. Honestly, the process was nice,
yeah.
especially when I wrote it with Rudy. We're exchanging ideas, we're doing some meetings. It was nice, and the postpartum one was came from a personal experience that I experienced at home. And now actually another OBGYN, a friend of mine here in Miami, we're writing a book. We're still in the beginning of it, about biohacking in pregnancy, to see if, I mean, is it really like something? Can you biohack in pregnancy? There's nothing in the data out there that tells you all these hacks that come out on social media you can use in pregnancy. But there are actually hacks that our grandparents used that are probably very safe in pregnancy and effective. So we're trying to also look at sleep, exercise, mental health, sexual health in pregnancy, all looking at it from kind of a biohacking alternative way without drifting out of evidence based medicine.
Right.
So yeah, that's the fourth book that we're writing, but I don't know when it's gonna finish.
Nice. Very
Yeah, it's
busy. I
funny.
mean, with all
I
the
think
work
I'm
that you
writing more
do.
books than like publishing papers now that I'm out of academia. I rarely have time, for to write, papers. And actually, we wrote a paper, but it took like almost 2 years about environmental toxins in pregnancy, and now it's under revision. So I hope it will get published. But again, it's I enjoy this more honestly than writing an article and submitting it to the journals and getting back rejections and putting
Right, and then you get all these like
yeah.
whoever
And this is
reviewers
more fun.
are.
Yeah, this is more fun to write. You write what comes to your mind. You don't have to abide by things or go through statistics and all
So
this.
is
Yeah,
it like easy for you to write the like for me like to sit down and collect your thoughts and write a chapter? It can
yeah,
take time,
it
right? Because some days you
takes
may not
time.
have
Yeah,
the
some chapters you finish very quickly. Some
yeah.
chapters, you put an outline of what are the things I'm going to talk about, and some of them take you 2 weeks and you block. You don't know what to write anymore. So it all depends. The toxin book, the first one was tough because I didn't know much about toxins. I had to read a lot about the history and events that happened here in the US, in the world of big chemical uh, problems and pandemics, basically, when it comes to chemical things. So it took a longer time because I was still not familiar with toxins. The postpartum one was very easy. I mean, it's like something uh,
Because you know it,
I
you
like.
know the
Yes, I
topic.
know it. And the toxins in pregnancy, the resident, like I told you, she did a lot of. I mean, she did a big part of the work, and she had a lot of the references out there that she reviewed, and she was very interested in the topic, so it helped me a lot.
Yeah. So, and
But
basically
yeah,
once you write your first book, you get used to it and you can actually
yeah,
know how to
exactly. Yeah.
navigate or
And you know what? The
process.
only time the time I used to write was like early in the morning before going to work, like because I wake up very early, wake up at 4:35. And my friends in London was like, "Why are you awake now?" So I'd wake up, make my coffee, write maybe like for half an hour or 45 minutes, then shower and go to work. It helps also your mental status when you do this exercise in the morning. Um, and yeah, it becomes like a hobby, like a hobby.
Actually, that's probably part of the Vitality projects to wake up early
Yeah.
and exercise or do other things because that's when your mind is the clearest and then you
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they tell you, of course, wake up in the morning, make sure you see sunlight, to kind of fix your circadian rhythm because
right,
the circadian rhythm will affect your cortisol, all your hormones, your thyroid, your, sex hormones, everything gets synchronized according to light.
right.
And so it's very important to do this. But I used to wake up, it was still dark, and I was like, writing, and it's still dark, and then leave, it's still dark. So yeah, I wasn't doing great on sleep. I'm a bit better now, but I still have an issue with sleep. Um, I
So
sleep, interruptedly, unfortunately. But I'm trying, to work on that part. But I think the message from what I've been talking about is like anybody in the medical field, whether you're a pre-med or a med student, and every time I meet a lot of them or talk to some of them through, email or something, I tell them, you know try to you don't have to just think outside the box and do something nobody has done. Just do something you like. I'm sure you can't find something that nobody has ever done before. Everybody has done things you're thinking about, but do them your own way, and be serious about it, and then pursue it till the end. And it'll be it'll be an eye opener for you, and you will look at things in a different way. So if you're interested in, I don't know, in mitochondrial diseases, and just focus on this, um, and and work your way out. Write a book, maybe create an online course, go talk about it somewhere, knock on doors. Um, Now, with social media, like, I found so many people, let's say on LinkedIn, that you look at their name, or they're like experts in, let's say, I was interested in looking at how you can detoxify your body using plasma exchange, because there's a lot of centers that do this. So I started digging, and I met this physician. He's originally from Bulgaria. He's in California. He's actually the guy who published most about plasmapheresis and plasma exchange. And I sent him a message on LinkedIn. I was like, I didn't even expect him to answer me. He answered me. And the next day or 2 days later, I had a Zoom call with him. We had a nice talk. He explained what he does. I mean, people out there do help. So knock on doors, and you never know. People can. I learned a lot from this physician, and he's an amazing guy. But when you look at his social media page, you would think he will never answer me, but he did. And
and to share, that's what I do with my podcast. Both I contact a lot of people through LinkedIn who I don't know, and I don't expect them to answer me, and then I get an answer, and they're interested.
I mean, sitting in your own cocoon and not knocking on doors will never help.
Especially these days, I mean, you've got a lot of options to contact.
Exactly.
Not like the old days where you have to send them a letter or find their phone number.
Or go knock on their door and wait until they're home, or call their home number. So I think that's I think the message for the next generation to diversify, like they do in stocks. Diversify you put your money in different things. Do the same thing. But have one main focus, let's say your subspecialty or your specialty, but you can always do other things on the side without compromising your family time or your health. And if it feels overwhelming and I have so many things to do and it's remove one of those things. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to do a book and an online course, and you can tailor your time according to your life.
Exactly. That's what I tell people now, like you're saying, diversify, and even at work, even in your main job, do the things you like to do in the job. Don't say yes to everything, because there's a lot of things that will overwhelm you for no reason. You're not going to like doing them in the first place.
Especially in academic places, you have to be on this committee, and you can't say no. You can no, just say no, and do things that you like. I mean, I think that's the key that I learned. I learned it the hard way. I never said no to anything. Like when I was in Lebanon, every committee they would suggest, "Would you be on this committee?" Yes, sure. Like I would stay sometimes till 6-7 p.m. at work, and this can compromise your health and your family time. And so no, try to do things you like, diversify, but don't let it affect your mental health and your physical health.
Labib, this was a great discussion, and I
was so happy really to reconnect with you and talk about this. And I hope whoever's going to be listening to it, whether you're Lebanese or not Lebanese, because every week I get emails from students wanting to come to the US to train, and they ask me what are the things I need to do, and I really, the first thing I tell them is try to be diversified and have something different, because today of course grades are important, and your performance in the interview is important, but this is not everything. Now I think institutions want diversity, want people from all over the world, bring different cultures, have different talents, maybe in music, maybe in sports. So I think try to follow your passion, and if you want something, it will happen. That's what I tell most students. And I was really happy to connect again with you, and maybe we can do other sessions and other podcasts about this topic and dig deeper into the vitality formula.
Yes, for sure, and probably we'll do it as you progress forward with your project, to see where it's going and what it's achieving.
Yes, hopefully, if it achieves something, I'll be back. If it's not, I might not come. I might not come back. So we'll see. We'll see. But again, thank you so much for your time, and say hi to the whole family. And of course, if you're ever in Florida, please make sure you come visit.
I'm sure we'll come to Miami at some point.
Yes. Great.
Thanks, Labib.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you so much.